Good evening, everyone. Hope you're well. It is Sunday evening, and tonight we're going to be talking about property strategies which will work in any economy. And you're going to be with myself, Arsh Ilahi. So, if you can, just let me know that you can hear me nice and loudly and clearly, please. That would be much appreciated. So, in the comments box that you're going to have on the right-hand side of your screen or somewhere on your screen, you can have a little comments box. Just give me a quick hello. Let me know that you can hear me nice and loudly and clearly, please. And let's get moving on. So, as the title suggests, we're going to be talking about a property strategy which works in any economy. And I'm going to be talking about how this is a strategy that has worked for many years. So it's not a new strategy. I'm not unveiling a brand new property strategy here or anything like that. More importantly, I'm going to be talking about a strategy that has been standing the test of time. And as a result, if you decide to get involved with a property strategy like this, how you can make very good money from it. So let's get moving straight on from it. So if you can, just in the comments box, just say hi, let me know that you can hear me, and that would be much appreciated. So let's get moving straight on. So I always start by saying thank you with trusting me with your time this evening. Appreciate that there's lots of things that you can be doing on a Sunday, but you've decided to spend it with me. And as a result, I'm going to be talking you through a couple of strategies. Also, just giving you some examples as to what's been working on and some of the deals that have been done as a result of doing this strategy. So by the end of the session, we're going to be looking at how to get started in property with no money and no experience, how to make cash flow from simply controlling properties, and how to work with estate agents to negotiate the best deals. So I appreciate that in the property space, there's lots of people talking about a lot of things, but what gives them the authority? So I suppose I've got to kind of justify to you guys as to who is Arsh Ilahi? Why do I believe I've got the authority to sit here and talk to you about this strategy? So first and foremost, I'm a property investor. I've been investing in properties for over 22 years now. So I've built up quite a significant portfolio. I've got over 1,000 tenants, which is, you know, perhaps too many, but it's just happened the way that it's happened. We keep buying, we keep continuously growing, and I keep saying to myself that I'm going to stop, but I never do. We continue to keep going, and I'll talk to you a bit about a story about something that's actually happened today. As a result of that, I've been writing in magazines such as YPM magazine, HMO magazine, Blue Bricks magazine, as well as lots of other property publications, and I've been speaking all over the country about my journey. In lockdown, the first lockdown, I call it lockdown 1.0, I released a podcast. So whilst we had all this newfound time, I released a podcast called The Property Rebel, and within the launch of it, we actually managed to hit the top 10 of all podcasts in the UK, and I thought that was quite cool. So the podcast is called The Property Rebel. We release new videos, or new podcasts, should I say, every Tuesday at 6 a.m. Feel free to go and check it out. Also, please feel free to leave us a review on all the podcast stores. That'd be much appreciated. Finally, and I've left this one to last, is that I'm the founder of a platform called the Property Investor app. Now, what is a Property Investor app? If I was to simplify it, I call it the right move, but for property investment opportunities. So whether you're looking for below market value deals, rent to rent deals, lease option deals, we've got them all on there. So if you want to get involved with that, feel free. It's completely free. You can download the app. If you've got a smartphone, go to the App Store, type in Property Investor, download from there. If you want to stick to the website, you're more than welcome to go to the website, propertyinvestораpp.co.uk. And I believe it or not, I've documented my journey quite well in a book called Boom Bust and Back Again. So I call it the Property Investor's Survival Guide, because I've not just told you all the good bits, I've told you all the bad bits within the in the book. And as the title suggests, boom, seen some good times, bust, nearly went bust, and back again to tell the tale. And I've helped hundreds of people achieve financial freedom. So my goals, I've set some really big goals for 2023. I want to source or trade over 1,000 properties. That seems like quite a lot, but that's 20 a week, which is equivalent to almost like 4 a day. That's a lot. That's a lot of properties, but you know, we're aiming to get there. I want to create the largest network of property sources around the UK. want to become the equivalent of Rightmove for property investment opportunities. Now, what are your goals for 2023? Write them down in the box. Now, the reason why I say write them down is because when you write them down, they become a little bit more realistic, and you can either be scared by them or you can get excited by your goals. So tell us what your goals are, and more importantly, whilst you're writing in the box, feel free to literally say, hi, my name's Pat, I'm a property investor. Tell me a little bit about your experience. The reason why I say that is because if I can know who we've got online, as a result, I can, and if I know what your experience is, I can try and tailor this webinar accordingly. So if I think we've got lots of experienced people on here, we could talk about more of the advanced strategies. If there's lots of people starting from scratch, we can start from the ground up. It completely is up to you. Now, the strategy that I'm going to be talking about this evening is deal sourcing. Now, lots of people are going to think, oh, I already know about deal sourcing, but believe it or not, do you? The reason why I say that is because people always assume that deal sourcing is only one type of strategy. But the reality is that deal sourcing comes in multiple strategies, whether you're looking for something like a BMV deal, below market value deal, whether you're looking for like a rent-to-rent deal or a lease option deal or service accommodation deal or a commercial deal or some land deals. You have to understand the skill, or you have to definitely learn the skill of deal sourcing if you want to survive in property. And that's a big claim. The reason why I say it's a big claim is because if you don't understand that skill, if you don't have that skill in your skill set or in your locker, you're going to forever be at the mercy of just trying to find deals the traditional way, which is by finding them on Rightmove and competing with lots of different other buyers. Sometimes you have to get ahead of the game. Sometimes you have to get ahead of getting to the vendor before it gets to market. And these are where some of the best deals are done. Now, some of the best deals that I've done in my lifetime, in my property journey, have been direct to vendor. Ultimately, there's been some great deals that I've done with agents too. But the reality is that if I hadn't have done some of the great deals that I've done direct to vendor, would I have been able to survive and make sufficient cash flow to do the other deals? Perhaps, perhaps not. But the reality is that you've got to have almost like a real variety of where your deals come from. Now, why is now the perfect time to create an income stream? Very simple. Everything's gone through the roof. Mortgage rates gone through the roof. Energy rates gone through the roof. Food, petrol, living expenses have all increased. Now, whether I was speaking to friends of mine, believe it or not, my children went to a it was one of the other children's birthday parties from school, and one of the parents said that, and we were talking that one of the parents, actually a head teacher at one of the schools, and they were saying that some of their teachers are reliant on food banks to provide them with meals. And I thought that was quite interesting. And the reason why I thought it's quite interesting is because even though they are paid professionals in full-time education, they are struggling to make ends meet as a result of the mortgage rates increasing, as a result of the energy rates, everything around them. And basically, eventually, we're going to get to an economy where we're running in a negative. Now, the reason why I say that is because if the income, or if your income hasn't increased and all your outgoings have, it can only mean one thing, that we're going to end up in a negative economy. So the reason why I'm doing this webinar is because I think now is the perfect time to create a new income stream. You've got to learn new skills, and ideally you've got to learn something quite quickly, which is going to be able to, where you don't necessarily need the experience, you don't necessarily need much time, you don't necessarily need much money to get involved, and it's going to be able to pay out quite quickly too. Now, when I've looked at all strategies, really, if you buy a buy-to-let property, that's not going to give you a sufficient level of income. Yes, it's going to provide you with some income, but that income is going to trickle through over a number of months. But in order for you to buy that property, that means that you've got to have a large amount of capital to actually purchase that property initially, which a lot of people may or may not have. So that's why I'm saying, if you start with a strategy where it doesn't require a lot of capital and can give you, pots of cash of circa £3,000 to £5,000, why wouldn't someone do that? As well as that, they also get the opportunity to see property opportunities that they may not have seen before. Does that kind of make sense? Feel free to click yes or type in yes or no. So for those that don't know what deal sourcing is, so when you hear that someone's a deal sourcer, when you hear that someone's a deal packager or deal trader, believe it or not, it's all the same thing. In essence, what they're doing is they're trying to find either a vendor or an agent who's trying to sell a property. Now, off the back of that, they will then try and repackage this property and sell it out to a property investor. Now, they may put this out on Facebook, they may put it on social media, they may have a bank of investors already, but ideally they want to try and get a lead or a deal. They want to make sure that it makes some form of commercial sense, and they're going to sell it out to a property investor. The property investor hopefully is going to pay the sourcer or the packager a fee as a result of doing that. Now, everyone wins in this scenario because the vendor wins, they've sold the property. The sourcer wins, they've made a fee, and the investor wins because they found a property that they may not have previously found. Does that make sense? Now, you've got two angles to when we talk about markets and we talk about the size of the market. Deal sourcing is a forever evolving strategy. And the reason why I say that is because there's never going to be a time where you're not going to have enough leads to chase. And I'm very clear on that, because if you work with agents, they specifically spend tens, if not hundreds of thousands of pounds every year marketing, looking for vendors who try and sell their property. And there's always going to be times where vendors are going to sell their property. So month after month, more properties come on the market. Month after month, more sales get progressed. Otherwise, let's face it, if there are no properties coming on the market, there's nothing for them to sell, which means that they don't have a business. So let's look at it from a logical point of view. So a vendor, they instruct an agent to sell the property. Now the agent, they market that property on platforms like Rightmove, Zoopla on the market, and they charge the sellers a fee of around 1 to 2% for the sale. Now, the investor may buy the property off from the agent and they don't get charged a fee. Now, the difference with what a sourcer does is that the sourcer may look at that property in a slightly different light. So when an agent puts a property on the open market, they may list it as just like standard 3-bedroom house. Now, an investor may look at it from a slightly different point. And a sourcer, the key to this skill is understanding what you can do with that property. Is that property a standard buy-to-let? Could it potentially become HMO? Could it potentially become service accommodation given the location? Could we remodel it into a small, some form of small development? So the skill is, and these are the things that estate agents don't look at, perhaps because they don't understand it. More importantly, as a result of understanding all the different strategies, you can then also apply a cash flow accordingly. So what would the cash flow look like from a buy-to-let? What would the cash flow look like from a HMO? What would the cash flow look like from service accommodation? You can decide, and as a result, you can put all these options forward to your investor, and your investor is going to then be able to understand it, go, yes, okay, I understand it. Yes, if I buy it as this and I do this, and the output will be this. Now, with estate agents, there is a need, and even with vendors, there's a need for them to sell the property. What that need is very independent. So with a vendor, they may be upscaling, they may be downscaling, they may be going through marital issues, they may be going through financial issues, they may be emigrating, lots of different reasons. But the estate agent never really understands that. They never really ask the question. If you've actually tried to ever sell your property, how many times did the estate agent ask, do you mind if I ask why you're selling this property? Because they never do. They think that that's too personal a question. But for me, that is prime importance, because we need to understand the motivation behind the sale. Once we understand the motivation, we can actually apply a strategy according to that motivation. So I've been out to have a look at a block of apartments, and even though they want to sell it, we've actually structured it as a lease option. Now, why would they do that? Now, an estate agent wouldn't understand that process, but as a sourcer, as a packager, as a trained property professional, I understand that by them selling it, that may not be the best option for them. Now, I'm going around in circles here, but when we look at the estate agency model, if they don't sell that property, they don't actually make any money. In actual fact, they're losing money. So as a deal sourcer, you've got a massive value that you can add to their business, because if an estate agent has got a property that they haven't yet sold, it's only ever going to go one way. The longer that property stays on the market, the more the chance that the vendor is going to go to another agent or take it off the market and decide not to sell. And if they decide not to sell, the agent's not made any money. Does that make sense? Feel free to comment. If you think I'm going too fast, feel free to say yes or no, or Arsh, slow down. I feel like I'm going at quite a pace today. So feel free to stop me in my tracks if you wish. So if the agent hasn't sold the property, they've made no commission. Now, what would the agent do? Would the agent rather try and generate a sales any way they know how? Or would they rather hand the property back to the owner and say, sorry, we've not sold it, and as a result, we're not going to make any commission? Now, if you think they're going to hand the property back, think wrong, because you as a deal sourcer, if you can present to them that you can potentially if you can potentially sell that property to one of your property investors, and you generate a fee from the buyer and the agent still generates a fee from the seller, it's a win-win all round. So it's not perhaps trying to fix something that's already broken. Perhaps it's about trying to create and almost collaborate and make something better. Collaborate's a big word, because if you think slightly out of the box and you collaborate with other businesses, and it's a win-win all round, that is the best kind of service to offer. From my experience anyway, when I've tried to go out and create something new, perhaps the market does not need that something new. But if you can already justify that there's a product out there, there's a service out there that's already doing well, and you can enhance it or add some value to it, that is the key to success. For me anyway, that's what I determine. So I'm going to be talking about, so I've come across lots of people. So this is the 4th webinar that I've been doing in succession weeks. And lots of people said, well, Arsh, I like the thought of deal trading, but I'm not so sure if I'm going to be able to do it. Now, the reason why I say that is because they're worried about there not being enough stock. They're worried about not having enough time. Now, the key thing to deal sourcing is consistency. That is the one thing that you have to remain at, is that when you start it, don't just give yourself a month and think, I'm going to run with this for a month. You've got to give yourself a good 6 months, or even if you can dedicate almost like a year. Now, we're not saying a year full time. What we're saying is that dedicate a couple of hours a week, or if you can dedicate an hour a day to deal sourcing, you'll be surprised at the results that come. Because let's face it, no one's ever great at something when they start it off the bat. They have to learn the skill, they have to understand the skill, they have to understand the service. As a result, they get better at it. As a result, get better at it, that's where the results happen. Now let's go back to my slides here. So let's just imagine that you put some time into deal sourcing and deal trading. And let's keep the system simple for now, because let's just imagine that you don't have sufficient funds to go out and start marketing and trying to find vendors who are going to sell properties. So if you want to literally do this a simple way, you could start to create a relationship with an estate agent. Now, with that estate agent, you want to have a look at properties that they've not already sold. There's no point chasing properties that they put on yesterday, because believe it or not, they're already going to have a number of people that they're already going to approach to offer them that property. They're not the problem properties. The problem properties are the ones that they've not already sold. Now, in any estate agent's window, you will see that they've got an average between 30 and 50 properties that they've not sold. And as a result, you can turn around to them and offer them help selling their properties. Now, as a result, you are the one that understands investment properties better than the agents. And you're now going to try and apply a strategy to that property which works best from a cash flow point of view. Now, as a result, you're now going to present this to your investors, and you're going to hopefully get them to purchase a property which meets their criteria and pays a fee. Now, someone's going to ask a question here. I get this question a lot, but Arsh, okay, it's all very well me approaching agents, but if I've got no buyers, what's the point? Now, the good thing is that you do have buyers, you just don't know it yet. So whether you put this out on social media, whether you put this on Facebook groups, whatever it may be, whether you decide to partner up with my company, the Property Investor app, you've got on the Property Investor app, you've got over 50,000 investors there. Now, when it comes to the opportunity, if we're going to keep this really simple, let's just work with estate agents alone. Did you know there's over 53,000 estate agents in the country? So when people say, is the market becoming saturated? No, it's not, because believe it or not, no market can try and approach and even attract 53,000 estate agents. It's pretty much impossible. On top of that, Rightmove confirmed that they've got over 800,000 properties for sale. Now, I appreciate not all 800,000 are going to be the kind of properties that are going to be suitable. We need something that's got an investment value. We've got something that where an investor wants to buy. So this is where a bit of time is required to come and actually appraise the property and say yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And it really is as simple as that. The reason why I say it's really simple as that is because if you put some basic numbers into my calculator, like the purchase price and the rental figures, the calculator will pretty much spit out whether they think it's a deal or not. It'll look at it from a cash flow point of view, it'll look at it from a return on investment point of view. And these are the angles that investors are looking for when they're purchasing a property. Does that kind of make sense so far? Give me a yes or no, please. That would be great. Now, lots of people will say, well, Arsh, I'm not sure if an agent will work with me. Why wouldn't they work with you? Because what are you offering them? You're offering them to buy. You're offering them to actually find them a buyer. They're not actually doing any work. So the hard work that they're doing is that they're concentrating on finding sellers. Now, if you can find them buyers, that gives them more time to go and find sellers. The more sellers they get on their books, the more opportunities they sell. The more opportunities they sell, the more fees they generate. It really is as simple as that. So here's an email from an agent that I work with, a guy called Tom Lloyd, and he sends me deals every month without fail. So we've got Tom, he sent me some HMOs in Loughborough. Got another person, a lady called Joanne, who sent me some stock. And again, she says, here's a property, I've not sold it, can we put it out to investors? Let's see if we can generate a sale. And then here's another guy called Jack. He goes, here's another property. What do we need to do to start shifting this property on your platform? So these are all agents that we're working with, and we're working with agents all over the country. Now, the reason why I'm presenting this is because I need more people on the ground, approaching more agents so that we can get more stock. Ultimately, the more properties we can offer, the more properties we can sell, the more fees we can generate, and it works all round. Now, if you find properties and you bring them to the Property Investor app, we work on a 50-50 split fee basis. Does that make sense so far? Now, the title of the webinar is Property Strategies That Will Work in Any Economy. And this slide describes exactly that. Because regardless of what's happening in the property industry, whether the property prices increase or whether the properties decrease, you actually adjust your pricing accordingly. And let's think about this from an estate agency point of view. When an estate agent, how many times have you seen, like on places like Rightmove or Zoopla, where you've got a little tag in the corner that says reduced or new price? What that's basically telling you is that the estate agent has gone to the vendor, and as a result of the new changes within the market or within the property industry, they're actually going and getting the vendors to reduce the price. Now, that's exactly what happens as a deal source, as a deal trader. You factor it. So you go back to them and say, guys, okay, we thought we could try and get you 100,000. We've not had no bites on it for this figure. However, if we can reduce it by X amount, we may be able to get more traction on it. And so we're not doing anything new. What we're doing is, in actual fact, just changing it slightly so that we're putting a bit of a spin on it. And so that when the vendor says, yeah, okay, I understand it, we've not sold it, so we need to get a reduction. And they'll be fully aware of this because this is what estate agents do on a day-to-day basis. But the beautiful thing with deal sourcing is that as an estate agent, I can imagine it being pretty boring, day in, day out, same old stuff. But with because all they're doing is the standard traditional sales. Now, the good thing with deal sourcing is that, sorry, bear me a second. Okay, so there's lots of questions. So Michael said, you've sent me a whole profile there, Michael. I'll come back to that in a second. So as a deal sourcer, no two transactions will be the same. You'll speak to one agent and they may have a property that may be a below market value deal. Another one may be a HMO deal. Another one may be a lease option deal. Another one may be a rent to rent deal. Now, again, and the beautiful thing with deal sourcing is that you don't have to just act within your town and your city. When we say that is because let's just imagine Michael now, he's based in, I don't know, let's say Birmingham. If Michael was an estate agent, really Michael will only operate within the Birmingham sector or within the section of Birmingham. However, as an independent deal sourcer, he can act in Birmingham, he can act in Scotland, he can act in Bournemouth, he can act all over the country. Now, someone's probably going to ask a question in a second, but how's he going to be able to cover such a wide span? Now, if you're deal sourcing and you're actually working with agents, you don't actually physically need to see the property. Sounds really strange, doesn't it? But believe it or not, if you're working and you've got that relationship with agents, they're doing all the initial work for you. They're going off they get the pictures, they get in the images, they get in the floor plans, they get in the description. They've done all the hard work. You now need to pretty much do it from like a desktop appraisal and then sell the deal. The investor goes and visits the property and makes sure that they're happy with it. Off the back of that, it's been very rare that I've physically had to go and view a property unless I had an interest in it for myself. And I can give you an example of a property that I'm about to take on in Blackpool. So no transactions are the same. And the key, as I said at the start, is that the key to deal sourcing is understanding all the strategies, because there are going to be lots of properties that come across your desk. And if you don't understand all the different strategies, you're just going to be passing on them. But the key to it is monetizing every lead, having a look at every property and attaching a strategy to it. And as a result, being able to monetize that lead. Does that kind of make sense? Okay, so Ola says, but will the property from the estate agents be classified as an off-market property? In essence, yes, it would, Ola. But again, this will come down to the relationship that you have with an estate agent. Now, if you call Ola, let's use you as an example. Now, just imagine Ola gets really fired up from this webinar and he calls tomorrow. He calls up an estate agent. He calls up Connells and say, hi, Connells. Right, I've seen that you've got this property. I want you to take it off Rightmove because I think I've got an investor that's going to buy it. Now, I sit here now thinking it from an estate agency point of view. All of a sudden, I've got this guy call me out the blue. His name's Ola. I know nothing of him. I've checked him out. His website, he's got a one-page website. What confidence have I got that Ola is going to be able to sell this property for me? More importantly, Ola's asking me to remove it from Rightmove. Why would I take it off one of the most powerful marketing engines as a result of a person that I've never spoken to, and as a result going to try to do what gives me the confidence that Ola's going to be able to deliver? The reality is they're not going to give you exclusivity to that property immediately. You need to build that relationship. So there are ways that you can do that, Ola. And there are lots of ways that you have to do it, but that takes a bit of time. But initially, it is about building that relationship. So let's keep moving on. So Michael, I'll be coming back to your question in a second, and I appreciate that you're from the Netherlands. Now, one of the questions that Michael's going to be asking is that, can I do this from the Netherlands? Absolutely. So I've got guys that are based in Australia. I've got guys that are based in Singapore. I've got guys that are based in Saudi Arabia, and they're all deal sourcing from all over the country. So a guy that we've got is a guy called Rahil, based in Saudi Arabia. He's been sourcing approximately 4 deals every month from Saudi Arabia. Now, bear in mind that Saudi Arabia is completely different time zone, completely different, language, and he's still doing deals every month. Now, all the information that agents provide will all be on platforms like Rightmove, Zoopla, on the market. Now, you can take a lot of this information and you can actually put this information into your calculator or your appraisal spreadsheet, and it should be able to tell you instantly, is this a deal or not? Does that make sense? Now, let's look at the benefits of deal sourcing. It's pretty much the one that I would take real note of here. It's 100% hands-free investing, because if you don't sell the deal, guess what? It's not cost you anything. Best case scenario, you've got everything to win from it. The agent's got everything to win from working with you, because let's face it, at the moment right now, they've not sold it. By working with you, there's only one benefit, that they're going to make a sale. There's no negatives, because if you're putting that property out to your database, in essence, what you're doing, you're getting more eyes on the property that they've not already had. And as well as that, from your point of view, you're not having to deal with tenants. You're not dealing with no maintenance, no bank borrowings, because you're not buying it. You're not tying up any money. So you can deal with any property, any town, in any city or country. Can be start and stopped when you require it. You can do it from anywhere around the world. I was in, whenever I go on holiday, I still continue to do this, because remember the word that I used at the start of this presentation, consistency. I want to remain consistent in it, so I want to continue to do it so that I don't stop and start, because that's when I lose momentum. And it can be done with pretty much anything. More importantly, because you're not buying it, you're not dealing with any solicitors or surveyors or refurbishment, no builders, no contractors, and because you don't own anything, there's no risk. So there's nothing that can go wrong. Absolute worst case scenario, you get a property off an estate agent, or you're working with an estate agent and you don't sell the property. What's the worst that can happen? You're going to then go back to that estate agent and say, guys, okay, we've had no takers on it just yet. But guess what? That's not the end of the world, because guess what? They haven't sold it either. So they clearly know that there's something either wrong with the property, or there needs to be an adjustment on the price. But worst case scenario, you don't sell it. Best case scenario, you do sell it. You generate a fee. The estate agent generates a sale. Everyone wins. Does that make sense? More importantly, you're not tied up any capital. You've not had to spend any money on marketing. You've not had to spend any money on generating the lead. It's already been done for you. It's actually been supplied for you. And as a result, you've made money off the back of it. More importantly, if you partner with the Property Investor app, you've actually not had to even find a buyer. So in essence, you're almost like a lead generator right in the middle. Does that make sense? Give me a quick yes or no, please. Again, looking at what's required. Simple, not much experience is required. Not much time is required. Very little capital, if no capital is required. Can be done from anywhere, and it pays you in large chunks of 3,000 to 5,000. So looking at my screen, what's a deal? Is it buying below market value? Is it buying in need of renovation? Is it something income generating? Is it something producing a good ROI? Is it something with a good potential capital growth? Something that's sustainable? Is it cash flow opportunity, capital appreciation, something that can add value, refurbishment, planning gain, control with little capital, use someone else's asset? Which one of these is a deal? Is it one of them? Is it all of them? Let me know. What's your thoughts? Now, remember, I'm going to go back to the question in a second. Don't narrow yourself down and don't become a one-trick pony. So when you're answering this, think about it from an investor's point of view. We've got quite a few investors on here. So Leslie may be looking for a below market value deal. Lana may be looking for a renovation deal. Julia may only be looking for rent to rent. Gemma may be looking for service accommodation. Ivor may only be looking for land. Ingrid may be looking for something that's ready-made built, because she's already in a job and she just wants to sustain her income. Reality is that all of these are all property deals. So, okay, so Ingrid said, sorry, so Jacek, sorry, I apologize if I pronounced that incorrect, is that if the property is far away, how do you evaluate the cost of refurb needed if the property requires it? Now, there are ways that you can do that, and again, by utilizing local trades. And again, by utilizing some of the estate agent's local trades, because the estate agent, the valuer that actually works within the valuation team, would have had a good indication of what the valuer, the refurb valuation would have required. Michael says, how do I find a reliable refurb project managers? Is that for sourcing? If you're trying to get project managers for sourcing a property, you're working too hard. If it's for you and your own personal projects, then that's a completely different question altogether. And there are lots of ways that you can do that. Believe it or not, one of the strategies that I teach about how to source properties will also show you how to find project managers. So Jacek says, what level of return on investment investors are looking for in the present time? So it all depends, because remember, you could be looking for a below market value deal. Now, what level of discount is that? Is it a cash flow level? How much cash flow is the property generated? Is it something that's going to appreciate in capital? What location? Is it all the different strategies? Again, don't narrow yourself down to become a one-trick pony. Now, the reason why I say that is because what one investor may want, another person may not, and vice versa. Someone may not want a property that's 10% below market value, but someone else will. So don't narrow yourself down into becoming a one-trick pony. And Jacek, you know, to be fair, if you were to ask me a general question, if you were to say what's the average return on investment that someone's after, it's on average around 20%. But then 20% on a return on a rent-to-rent deal is very low. 20% on a lease option is very low. 20% on a service accommodation deal is very low. You know, for those kind of deals, you've got to be looking at circa 60, 70, 80, even 100% plus. So again, don't narrow yourself down. You fell right into the trap there, Jacek. Right into the trap. And if you're only looking for that specific question, you're missing out on all the different opportunities. Does that make sense? So here's some of the deals that we've actually put out on the Property Investor app over the last couple of weeks. So I've been running these webinars for the last 4 weeks. Today's the last one out of the series. So hopefully you're taking lots of knowledge out from this. This is slightly different to all the other 3. I've kept everyone different. So here's all the properties that we've put out on this week's deals. If you notice, they're all different types of properties, all different kind of strategies, all different locations. And the reason why I like it, and the reason why I like what I do, is because no 2 strategies will remain the same. No 2 transactions will remain the same. No 2 conversations will remain the same. And it allows me to remain active. It allows me to remain, you know, I don't want to get bored in doing what I do. I want to look at every property and try and be creative with it at the same time. And the one thing that I forgot to say is that I get to deal the best deals first. So just so you know, so this year, so we're only in January. We're only 3 weeks into January, maybe even 4 weeks into January. I've just completed on this block of offices. So originally, this deal was actually found through, it was found online. Believe it or not, as a result of starting going through the whole process, when in actual fact, we've managed to turn this around into almost like a 3-year lease option. But I would not have been able to do that if I didn't see the opportunity first and give myself the opportunity to actually appraise it. So it's a block of 26 offices in Wolverhampton. Took control of the property for 3 years, aimed to raise income and sell the property or refinance against a new market value. I agreed the deal at 500,000. The end value is going to be between 800 to £1 million, and the projected rental income is going to be over £100,000. So there's lots of uplift in this property. Here's another deal. This is one that I've done direct to vendor. So this is a 5-year rent-to-rent deal. We originally found this property to let as a single let, and the owner was looking for someone on a long-term basis. Through one of the platforms that we use. And as a result, we've now converted this into a 10-bed HMO studio model, and we're utilizing it as service accommodation. Believe it or not, I'm actually doing a YouTube video on this property next Thursday, so watch out for it because it's quite a cool walkthrough video. It produced an approximate cash flow of around £6 grand a month, and I've used none of my property, none of my own money on this deal. So when you look at, when I said that deal sourcing is a strategy that everyone needs to do, it's for specific deals like these, because how else would I have been able to do this? How else, if I went to an estate agent and I said to the estate agent, guys, you've got this property, but I want to take it on a 5-year basis, but I want all the vendor to put in all the money, the estate agent would laugh me out the door. They would have said, you know what, Arsh, if you get a deal like that, let us know, we'll have them as well. But the reality is that the deals like this happen, deals like this exist, and as a result, it works for everyone involved. Again, another property, believe it or not, this was an estate agent deal. So this was offered, this was actually on the market, an estate agent, and believe it or not, I offered them the full market value for the property. So I purchased it, that was on the market for 180,000. They had lots of offers that were being, offered them at 150, 140,000 pounds. I went straight in at 180,000. The reason why I did that is because I knew I could add value. And these are properties that I've added into my own personal portfolio. So when we talk about deal sourcing and deal trading and deal, as a strategy, I do it because I get to see some of the best deals around the country first. And as a result, I can turn around and say, yes, I like it. Yes, I'm going to keep this one. This one's for me. Now, here's a property that we bought for 180,000. We've converted it into 6 one-bedroom flats. We then had it valued at just over 600,000. Now generates over 40,000 pounds worth of income and generates cash flow for approximately 1,900 pounds a month. Now, another property, here's a direct to vendor deal. Believe it or not, this property was actually found on eBay. eBay, out of all platforms, how many times have you actually searched for property on eBay? I bet not many of you have. But here's a property that we're trying to sell via eBay. We managed to negotiate it and turn it into a 10-year lease option where we've got a 6-month rent-free period. Now, we utilize this as our second holiday home. The reason why I do that is because we've now got property down in Cornwall, and this is it. Feel free to go to the website, tincroftcottage.co.uk. This is a property that myself and my wife now own, but we would not have been able to do that if we did not have the skills to source deals. Does that kind of hit home for you guys? Feel free to comment in the comments box. Here's another property. Now we've got apartments in city centres. And this is one in Liverpool that, again, we go and stop there on weekends sometimes. And when it's not let out, or when we're not there, we decide to put it on Airbnb. The same with a property in Cornwall. And as a result, that pays the outgoings, actually generates incomes from it as well. But in the meanwhile, we're running it as a strategy as Airbnb. This is a 7-year rent-to-rent deal. So, can ordinary people succeed? So Sheila's going to ask me a question. I'm going to answer that in a minute. So, can ordinary people succeed? So it's all very well me saying, Arsh, Arsh has done it and it's great, and Arsh has made it sound too easy. The reality is, it is as easy as you make it. Now, I've not invented this strategy. In actual fact, all I've done is just follow the same process that estate agents do. They've found a vendor, they've tried to market the property. We're now selling the property, and when I look at it from a different point of view. Can I make money from it? Is it a property that I can keep myself? If it's for myself, great, I'll buy it myself, or I structure it as a strategy. If it's not, can I then sell it to my investors? So I've got almost like three pillars. Can I buy it? Can I sell it? Can I rent? Buy, sell, rent. Can I buy it for myself? If so, yes, great. Let's figure out what strategy. If I can't buy it for myself because it doesn't fit my criteria, could I sell it to one of my investors? And what strategy will we apply for that? Again, we'll look at all the different strategies. If we can't buy it and we can't sell it, can we rent it from them? So these are all the things that are going through my mind when we're approaching and looking at a deal. Now, here's a guy on screen. His name's Craig Webb, based in the Midlands as well. He actually called me and we had a 1-hour consultation call. And off the back of that, I actually started looking at what he had done, what he was doing, and what he was doing wrong. Now, off the back of that, we put in lots of improvements into his technique. And within the deal, or within a month, believe it or not, he actually found 8 deals within 1 month, which is absolutely absurd when you think about it. And here are some of these deals. So properties in Worksop, Luton, and this the one on the end is in Hull. We've got other properties in Walsall, Burnley, and Boston. Now, Craig is actually based in the West Midlands. He didn't previously, he was only looking for properties in Walsall, which is in the West Midlands. But the reality is that Craig, when we opened his eyes to the opportunity, he started finding deals all over the UK. And here are all the deals that we've got over the line. Now, we could all talk about lots of different people. So we've got Ashley Walker, who's completed lots of different deals. Now, the difference with Ashley is that he's actually used the skill of sourcing, and he's actually used that to the benefit of actually building a portfolio with none of his own money. So he's found deals, he's gone and structured them so that he's used creative finance. Off the back of that, he's built a whole portfolio. Bavneet has found lots of rent-to-rent deals, and he's sold all of them through my platform, which is a property investor app. Lenka has done multiple property investment property deals, and she's also built a small rent-to-rent portfolio for herself. Now, Ale, now the one thing I will say is that as a deal sourcer, you don't have to sell every deal. You can decide to keep that deal when you see that deal. If you think it meets your criteria, you keep it. If you think it doesn't meet your criteria, you sell it and you'll monetize that lead. Now, Ale joined the Elite Property Tribe, and he went from 7 properties to 17 properties within a year. And he goes, not only did I learn the strategies and techniques, but also learned to strengthen my confidence and believe that I can do it. And he goes, many thanks for your time and dedication to teach and guide us. Now, remember, now one of the guys on the right-hand side, and I'll come to in a second, but Amanda completed multiple deals whilst trading within the Elite Property Tribe. She goes, she goes, massive support from Arsh himself as well as other EPT members with loads of experience, then look no further. Now, Adam is quite an exceptional guy because, believe it or not, he's sourced over 50 properties, and he's done that also whilst running a large full-time portfolio. So it became, he's done multiple deals all over the country. And in November last year, I ran a program called the 5-Day Property Challenge, which I'm actually launching again from the start of Feb, which is next week. And here's some of the people that we actually trained in November last year. Salim came to it and he found a number of deals on the day. So Sonny found 2 deals on the day. And we'll come to it in a second. Simon managed to get a deal over the line within the day. Will managed to find a couple of deals. Carmina managed to find 6 potential deals, and Darren managed to find 8 potential deals. And again, these are all different style of deals. So the different types of properties, different types of strategies, different cities, different location, different cash flow models. So we're looking at below market value deals, rent-to-rent deals, full market value deals, lease options, assisted sales. These are just some of the strategies that you should be looking at when you're finding properties. So again, not only are the property types and the property types are different, so again, below market value, full market value, rent-to-rent, lease option, but the way that you find them will also differ massively. Again, some will be direct to vendor, some will be deals from agents, some will be deals co-sourcing with other sources. So when we talk about, is there a massive market for it? Yes, there is. Are you ever going to get stuck and not be able to find a deal? No, you're not, because again, there's lots of different strategies and lots of different ways to find properties. So where does this all lead us down to? Because now we're closing, believe it or not, we're in the process of closing the entries for the Elite Property Tribe. For those that don't know what the Elite Property Tribe is, it's a training program that I've created that starts on the first week of Feb. So it starts from a week on Monday, but we are closing it this week. So what it is, it's a training program where it's all online training. So we've got 52 modules of online training, and in there we teach all the different strategies of how to source and package and sell deals. So whether it's deal trading, rent to rent, lease options, HMO, service accommodation, and commercial to residential. And what it is, we've got a platform which has got 52 modules of online training. Now, in addition to that, not only do you just watch the videos, but we have a fortnight live deal clinic, which I hold live every fortnight on a Monday between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. Now, There's lots of support that goes with the program. When we say lots of support, you have the ability to come and shadow me in my office all throughout the year. So if you want me to actually listen to some of your phone calls, I'm more than happy for you to do that. So you come and spend the day in the office with me. You get to sit on my desk or next to me. I get to see how you're appraising deals. I get to see what you're looking for. I get to hear how you're speaking to agents. And as a result, we fine tune it so that if it's not right now, we can have it right by the end of that day. As well as that, as part of being an EPT member, you have the ability to book daily calls with me. So daily 10-minute calls. You have to book the calls to discuss the opportunities and support. So if you've got a property and you think, well, I'm not so sure whether this deal works or not, what you do, you book a 10-minute call, we go through it, and as a result, if you need help with negotiating or even speaking to that agent, I actually jump on the call with you as well. As well as that, we've got 4 live meets all throughout the year, the next one being Friday the 10th of February. So we're going to start the week with a 5-day challenge. So we're going to start the first week with a full challenge. So I'm going to throw you into the deep end, and at the end of that week, we've got a live meet. As well as that, you've got access to all 400 hours plus of previous webinars, recordings, and live meets, and you get to sell your deals to my database. Plus, we have a WhatsApp group with other EPT members as well. Not to mention the spreadsheet that I've been talking about throughout this session. You get access to my spreadsheets, contracts, and templates. So just give me a quick update so you can see here's what kind of the platform looks like, and here's some of the modules that you'll see that you've got on there. So we look at sourcing, we look at packaging, we look at how to use the planning registers, how to use spare room, how to look at the legislation, we look at the HMO model, we look at how to advertise, we look at all kinds of, we look at rent to rent, we look at service accommodation, just to name a few. We even talk about JV, and we look at crowdfunding as a platform as well. So the program itself starts on Monday, the 6th of February. Remember, it's a full year program, but we start the program with a challenge called the 5-day property challenge. And the aim is to get you your first deal within the first week of the program. So we finish the challenge the first week on Friday, the 10th of Feb, and we finish it with almost like a day on the phones. So it's quite an intensive 1 week challenge. So Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, Thursday, they are covered by webinars that we hold in the evening, and that will give us an overview of all the strategies and what we should be looking for and what we should be saying to agents and vendors when we're looking for a deal. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday will be webinars between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. Now on the Friday, we're asking people to come to our office or to a hotel venue in Wolverhampton, and all the data that you've collected on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I want you to be calling these people on Friday, and I want to convert these leads that you've been generating Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday into deals on the Friday, and that's Friday the 5th, Friday the 10th of February. So all-day event between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. So the last one that we ran in November, there's lots of people in the room, so we spread them out all throughout the room, even all throughout the hotel lobby. And as a result, we had a number of deals that came out of it. So Jessica said, do you provide a joint venture contract as well? So I have got a joint venture contract that you could utilize. I always suggest that you always get one drawn up by a solicitor, but you can use mine as a base, got no issue with that. So what does the day in the 5-day challenge look like? So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is online sessions. Friday, it's a day looking for deals. It's a day speaking to vendors. It's a day appraising deals. It's a day calculating the return on investments. It's a day collaborating with other EPT members and finding deals so that we can sell to my database. And as a result, we go a 50-50 split fee basis. So for those that want to come and shadow me in the office all throughout the year, top right-hand corner, there's a guy called Jay Uday. He had no property experience. He had no money to invest. He was actually one of my newest EPT members, and he was actually a full-time teacher. And within the day, we managed to get him to negotiate 2 HMO deals. Both of them were in Stoke-on-Trent. He came down from London. He didn't even really know Stoke-on-Trent existed until that day. Sourced and packaged the deals, and he generated over £10,000 in sourcing fees. That was within one day. And that's because I was listening to his conversations. I was listening to what he was saying to the agents. I was listening to what he's saying to vendors, and we fine-tuned, we tweaked every conversation. So the conversations only got better and better, and that increased his confidence, and we turned him into a yes machine. Now, one thing I'm going to say, that puts me aside to all the other property training companies out there, and I get that. I get that there's lots out there. First of all, you're all going to have my mobile number. How many of you have been on a training program and you've not been able to get hold of the trainer after? You're all going to have my personal mobile number, which means that I'll be by your side every step of the way. We've got fortnightly deal clinics. I'm going to be helping with you. I'm going to be helping you with negotiations and problem solving. I'm going to be helping you through the learning journal. I'm going to be helping you by getting you to watch the sessions, understand the sessions, and as a result, bring those into practice. Within the first 5 days, my plan is to get you all your first deal. Now, here's the training, here's the learning journal. So you can write in here all the people that you spoke to that week, what you've been doing, what the progress has been, what's gone well, what's not gone so well. And you can share this with me so we can go through it together. Now, remember, I'm very much a hands-on mentor. I want to see what you're doing. I want to understand. So that's why I've given you the opportunity to book the daily calls, book the days in the office with me. And as a result, I want to see results happen. So we've got lots of success in the tribe. There's no need for me to keep continuing showing you what everyone has done. Let's hear what you're going to do. Now, believe it or not, I've reduced it for 2023. So last year, the cost of it was 6,000. We've actually reduced it now to 5,000, reduced for 2023. Now, there are two ways to get involved. You can either pay in full, which is 5,000, or you can pay over 12 months, which is £450 a month, slightly more expensive because we have to transact 12 credit card transactions, but as a result, it allows you to come on board on a affordable monthly program. Surround yourself with people who have the dreams, desires, and ambition. They'll help you push and realize your own. Now, just to recap, we're going to go to a full Q&A session in a second, so stay online. And if you've got any questions, type them in the box now. So just as a recap, what are you going to be getting in the Elite Property Tribe? 52 modules of online training. We're going to be looking at every single property strategy, every different way of appraising them, every different way of approaching them, and as a result, every different way of monetizing them. In addition to the 52 modules of online training, you've got the fortnightly deal clinics every fortnight on a Monday between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. The next session is on the 6th of February, which is the first training session for the EPT. We've got shadowing days all throughout the year with me, which you can book and come and spend the day in the office with me. We've got daily 10-minute calls, which you can discuss opportunities. We can even negotiate some of your deals with the vendor or the agent. We've got live meets throughout the year, the next one being the Friday, the 10th of February. Access to all the previous sessions that we've done. We've got over 400 hours worth of previous sessions on the platform, which you get full access to. You get access to my useful contacts, so people like my solicitor, accountant, letting agents, tax advisors, anyone that you need for your own property journey, and you've got the EPT WhatsApp group. So again, just a recap, and then we're going to go into Q&A session in a second. So it's 5,000 for the year, whether you pay that in one payment of 5,000 or you pay 12 monthly installments of £450 a month. And to join, you can click on any of those links. Someone has just messaged, yes, I will put those links in. Right, here we go. So someone says, can I put those links in the chat? I'm going to put it in the chat. Let me just see if that's all in there. Yeah, okay, so send to all. I've just sent it to everyone there, so you've got that there in your as your link. So Jacek says, will we use your sourcing app in this program, or is this a part? So basically, the Property Investor app is the platform which we'll use to sell the deals. Now, you don't have to sell your deals to my database if you don't want to. You can sell them to your own investors if you got it, and you can keep the fee. I've got no issue with that. But if you want to, you can sell them to my investors and we can work on a split fee basis. So let's go back to Michael's question. He says, My name is Michael. I'm 2 years in property investing. Up until now, I've done one successful flip, three failed flips, two run down as buy-to-let negative cash flow for now, and one is SA positive cash flow. One successful refurb to mini. But my objective is to start sourcing deals that do not require capital left in and not consuming too much time. For myself, deals should be preferably rent to rent with lease options or easy to add value. So, okay. Right, so Michael, you said that you've already got foreign investors as well. So you could pretty much start the program and get yourself pretty much up and running. Now, if you've got investors, all you've got to do is go out and understand the process of sourcing. And once you understand the sourcing methods and techniques, you could go off and find these for your foreign investors. So you've already got a database of people. So there's no reason for you not to be able to do this. I appreciate you're in the Netherlands, but there's no that's not a barrier as far as I'm concerned. So Ingrid says, how many people do you take on for this course? So we don't take on any more than 30 people, and that's what we've always done. We've always capped it at 30. Sometimes it's slightly less, but we are capping it at 30 people. So Sheila says, what are the platforms you use other than eBay? Right, eBay, believe it or not, is we don't just use eBay. We've got so many different platforms. So you use Rightmove, you use Zoopla, you use On the Market, you can use SpareRoom, you can use OpenRent, you can use Gumtree, you can Preloved. There's about 20 different platforms. 20 different platforms. And Ingrid says, is this for the all-year program? Yes, that's correct. So there are over 20 different platforms. And remember, this is not just for the one strategy. You're looking for different strategies. You're looking for, again, rent to rent, you're looking for service accommodation, you're looking for lease options, you're looking for land, you're looking for commercial deals. So every platform will have its own different strategy. And again, whether you're doing direct to vendor deals, whether you're doing working with agents deals, they all vary massively. So you're never going to be in a position where you can't find a deal. Now, some people may say, well, I'm still panicking that I can't find deals. Well, if you're panicking that you can't find deals, well, don't panic, because I'll actually provide you with some leads to get you off the ground and get you ready and get started. I'm happy to do that. So if you gave me a location, I'll provide you with leads for that location. What I need is some determination and concentration from you so that you can do this. All it requires is for you to make a call and find out some key information. Then my team will then package the deal and sell it to my investors. Jacek says, can we take part in your training while still working full-time? Absolutely, because remember, a lot of the information that you're going to be doing is all online based. So you don't physically need to be making calls. It'd be good if you could make calls, perhaps during your lunch hour. And we've got lots of people that do that do the odd phone call during the lunch hour, but all the research is done in the evening. So remember why you're doing it. Remember, because as a result of everything that's going through the roof, right now is the perfect time for you to get started, finding a new skill, finding a new cash flow level. And as an EPT member, what I also work with EPT members is that I allow them to utilize the strength and the leverage of the Property Investor app to negotiate deals with vendors and agents, and you become the go-to person in your area. So give you some power behind. So it's not just Amjad Iqbal, it's Amjad. And I'm also working with the guy who's founded with the Property Investor app. Then you can tell them what the Property Investor app's all about. They then get some confidence that I'm not just speaking to Amjad, who is a one-man band from a mobile phone. He's working with a larger network of people and a platform, and we can showcase that. So we've got emails, or we've got templates of emails, so that you can send the agent, giving them all the info what the Property Investor app is all about, so that they've got the confidence that they're working with Amjad, who's a trained professional. Does that make sense? So someone's asking about the links. Links are all there. Let me just, oh, and the one thing I will say is that if you don't build your own dream, someone's going to hire you to build theirs. And if you're working for someone right now, in actual fact, you're building their dream. Utilize your own, utilize your own skills. Okay, so Sheila, if you want to message me, in a second. I'll give you my email address. I'll get that looked into. So Sheila's just having slight issues with logging into the Property Investor app. I'll get that looked into first thing in the morning. Are there any other questions surrounding what property sourcing is, or what about the Elite Property Tribe? So someone said, can we have your phone number? They want to call me tomorrow. So if you call that office number tomorrow, you will speak to my assistant. Her name's Fran. And off the back of that, if you want to speak to me directly, I'm happy to speak to you. She'll always put you through to me if I'm not already on another phone call. Someone's asked about links again. Yes, happy to put the links up there. So there we go. Any other questions surrounding training and about your ability, or about the deals that you're going to be doing? Any questions? I think I've gone through it in quite detail this evening. You're very quiet this evening. It could be that you've been listening to the last 3 weeks worth of webinars, and we've gone through every scenario that I think we can cover. So on that note, guys, as always, I wish you all to be safe, well, and happy. Don't be afraid to learn something new. What's the worst that can happen? You can learn something new and you don't implement it. That's the absolute worst. Best case scenario, you learn something new, you start to implement it, you put it into practice, and you make money from it. So they're the two scenarios, and I always look at it from a worst case scenario, best case scenario kind of basis. And I really hope that working with you, we're going to get you to become a property success, and off the back of that, get you working so that it gets you to a point. So Jacek says, at what moment do we receive the commission? Okay, so good question. So when you're deal sourcing, when you sell the deal, generally we take the commission pretty much up front as soon as they've shown an interest in the property. Now, if you work with the Property Investor app, that commission will only be split then upon exchange of contracts and once the deals have been completed. So that's how we kind of operate. Because should there be an issue with the deal, there could always be some circumstances where the deal doesn't complete. So we have to look at it from that kind of point of view. So I hope that helps. So feel free to get involved, guys. As always, any questions, please feel free to reach out. My office number is on the screen right now. And as a result, let's get moving forward. And I look forward to working with you. Take care, guys. Good night and God bless.